I'm Catherine Ferrara, joined by Dr. Laura Kingsley, Assistant Superintendent and Chief Academic Officer with Sarasota County Schools. Also joining us in this segment is Veronica Brady, Senior Vice President for Philanthropy with the Gulf Coast Community Foundation. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Veronica, we've spent quite a lot of time in these roundtable discussions talking about the foundations and how they contribute to the schools. And a very targeted focus has been on reading and the importance of it. And the Gulf Coast Foundation has been very deeply involved in that reading recovery program. And I understand there's a personal story on how that began. Can you tell us about that?
It's a fun story.
Yeah.
It's a really fun story. So our board had identified that they were interested in seeing if there was some way we could help close the achievement gap.
Right.
We looked around, we weren't really finding anything that resonated. But one of our donors had for a couple years now been slipping me this page and saying, do you know anything about reading recovery? And his name is Keith Monda, and he and his wife Linda had been original funders through OSU, the Ohio State University, of reading recovery when there was a federal challenge grant.
Okay.
And finally one day I was talking to Laura and I said, do you know anything about reading recovery? Because Keith is really interested in reading recovery. And she said, oh, that would be fantastic. And so from there, we just had the good fortune to reach out, find out that there was a retired reading recovery professor, a semi-retired reading recovery professor in the area. And we met with her over lunch, the four of us, and mapped out a game plan on the back of a napkin, and 3 months later...
Literally, on the back of a napkin, Veronica's taking notes.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Put a budget together, the Mondas and the Charles and Marjorie Barancic Foundation and Gulf Coast came together to provide the initial funding for reading recovery to go into. We tested it in 3 Title I schools, 2 teachers each in those 3 schools. And about halfway through the school year, Laura shared that all the principals in Title I schools were asking how they could get this.
Oh, wow.
And we made the commitment that we would raise the money for the balance of the schools if the school system wanted to do that.
So Laura, from your perspective, when someone in the community has that passion for a project and comes to you with it, talk to me from your perspective what that feels to open the doors to something new in the students.
Well, Reading Recovery is a nationally known 30-year program, so it's very highly research-based. I knew it was a successful program. And you know, the synergy that happened when Veronica and Keith were sitting around that table and all the pieces started falling together. The Title I schools could dedicate a Title I resource teacher to the program.
Right.
The superintendent was all on board. That synergy just made this beautiful thing happen for children and for their families.
And in the first year, it became a monumental success with 85% of participating students reaching that average grade level, which was a huge success mark for them and a huge benchmark. And for you as an educator, what does that mean to you when you see a student, like the door opens for them and they feel good about themselves that someone took a chance on them?
Well, and you think about who these children are, right? They're the lowest performing first graders who have no confidence in their ability to read. So I could tell you story after story after story, and I know Veronica could too, after observing and listening to these reading recovery teachers who become these reading experts, right, from all the training they get. But my favorite story, I love this story. A reading recovery teacher is talking with a parent who has her first grader in the program and is seeing success. And this is a child who really struggled, could not read. And so the parent says to the reading recovery teacher, you know, I have a high school student who is struggling and has always struggled in school and couldn't read. And you could tell from the conversation that she was afraid she might not even graduate, right? So she looks at the reading recovery teacher with tears in her eyes, looks at her daughter and says, the cycle will now be broken.
That's amazing.
I know, every time I say it, I get choked up.
Veronica, tell me the foundation's role in this program. How are you active? Yes.
So Gulf Coast obviously did the original funding and bringing partners together. And so in the first year I mentioned the Mondas and the Charles and Marjorie Branson Foundation. But since then we have added a whole host of donors who have helped provide the funding in partnership with the school system for the program. So we continue to figure out ways to make the program more sustainable and to find some add-ons, some training for volunteers that complements the Reading Recovery program. Again, building that sustainability, which is really key.
And how can people get involved or learn more about the program?
Well, we're looking for a few things. We're always interested if somebody wants to invest in it with us, and they can contact me at Gulf Coast or visit our website at gulfcoastcf.org. We also are open to volunteers who are interested in working in the school system, and then sometimes the investment could be things like books, because there are special books that need to be both with the Reading Recovery teachers. We provide those, but actually in the classrooms.
Great.
And Catherine, I just want to add on to that, Veronica came up with this wonderful summer program too, called Kids Read, where we use our Reading Recovery teachers to tutor children over the summer. There are ways to support that over the summer.
Great.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
We have just a couple seconds left, but I do want to talk about how this partnership has started, and how it continues to grow, and what it means to both of you to have this now part of the district.
Builds complete confidence in me. You know, this community supports us in so many ways. We could not be the great school system that we are without them.
And I think it's a lot about longevity. We had started partnering with Keith and Gulf Coast during the Summer Hunger campaign. Then our kids swim program, where every second grader gets swimming lessons. Now Reading Recovery, that building trust and success together just builds on itself.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining us today and talking about this foundation. I'm impressed with your work. Thank you.